Well, hello, good morning, traders, friends. How are we doing today, you guys? Are we doing well? We had jobless claims come out just a few moments ago. I guess not a few moments ago. It was like half an hour ago. I've got the TrendSpider Twitter up. Jobless claims came in 192K versus 205 estimate. Less jobless claims than anticipated. Continuing claims are also down 1684 versus 1720 estimated. Jobless claims down. Markets down as well. In order for the markets to go higher, it's that bad news is good news thing. And jobless claims being down is not necessarily good news for the markets. It's good news for people who are employed, but it's not good news for the markets. So the markets are trading a little bit lower here. I'm just kind of getting up and just kind of seeing what's going on. One thing that I was keeping a close eye on, you guys know, I'm a price action guy. And in uptrends, we make higher highs and we make higher lows. And in downtrends, what do? We make lower highs and lower lows. And so, for me, I had my eyes on this particular area on the NQs. I'm watching the Qs because why? The Qs are what's propping up the market these days, which is, it's been that way in the past. It hasn't been that way for a while, and it is that way again. The Qs are kind of the strongest component of the markets. Tech is obviously unfazed by what's going on with the banks, but man, the ES looks rough. The IWM looks rough. Everything looks rough. And, I wonder, everybody that's here, good morning, Tammy. Good to see you. I wonder if anybody who's here joined in for the Twitter Spaces that I hosted yesterday. If you did not, let me see if I can grab a link to it for you, because it was really, really good. Frankly, it was really good. I'm not tooting my own horn here. I said very little, but we had some incredible guests. Here's a link to it if you're interested. We had some incredible guests. We had JC from All Star Charts. You guys know him, I'm sure. He's a brilliant guy. Lots of opinions, lots of great opinions. We had Spot Gamma. We had Brent from Spot Gamma. He's a good buddy. And obviously very smart fellow as well. We had Caleb Franzen, a young gun, very bright. Lots of good opinions there from him. We had Anne Marie. She's a lovely trader and friend. And then we had my buddy Andrew O'Connell from Real Pristine Cap. And these guys, we just talk shop. We didn't come in with any sort of agenda. We just kind of were charts and chilling, right? But the insights that everybody had on just kind of what's going on in the market these days. We also had another fella, our buddy Brian Lund. Maybe some of you guys might be familiar with him. I'm not sure, but he's also a really bright guy. Anyway, lots of cool insights from these guys. They all provided kind of a lot to think about. Brent from Spot Gamma, he was talking about options expiry. We've got a big monthly OPEX here coming up on Friday, which is important to keep an eye on. You want to know where these big monthly options expiries are when they're coming, because they can have a way of affecting the markets very powerfully. Sometimes they cause the markets to pin. Sometimes they cause the markets to go in one direction or another. But we got one coming up on Friday, so it's good to know. Take some time. If you have some time today, take some time and spend it with that recording, because like I said, there's some really good insights there. I love having the opportunity to get to talk to people who are wildly smarter than I am in the markets. It really helps shape my my view of things, and really helps add strength to some ideas that I have, and remove strength from other ideas that I have. So there's a few of you guys here. How are you guys doing this morning? Are you well? Where are you tuning in from? What's the latest? Give me the rundown. I'm curious to get to know the folks that are here. Today is a very chill day for me here in the pre-market pulse. We're just hanging out, talking shop. If you have any questions, if you're curious about anything going on some charts that you're looking at, happy to provide you know, whatever insights I can provide, if I can provide you with some insights. If you'd like to take a look at a particular chart or whatever, I'm just hanging out. If you have a question about anything TrendSpider related, happy to answer those questions as well. Coming in hot from Texas. Nice. How's Texas doing? Is it blooming in Texas already? It's kind of started blooming here. My wife and I were at dinner last night and we were noticing tiny little blooms on all the trees outside. And it was a lovely day. It was 65 degrees and it's snowing outside now. And I'm just thinking about all those little blooms that are now getting snowed on, hoping they make it. But I don't know. It looks cold outside. I've got the data flow widget up here. I don't know if anybody has played around with the data flow widget yet. This is a relatively new feature to the platform. Good morning, TH from Ontario, watching NVDA, Tesla, and the Qs. Yeah, so what are your thoughts? I'm kind of curious. The Qs look... The thing about the Qs is that they look like they're setting up to do something really nice to the long side. And that scares me. Frankly, that scares me. They're consolidating over the 200-day moving average. This is the 200-day in orange here. They are flagging out. You know, like, it's a pretty decent look. And it's understandable why you'd want to be maybe bullish here because it looks like it's kind of setting up in a bullish way. I'm going to Tesla. Tesla did something interesting. I'm really bummed that I missed this because I had this on my chart and I had an alert on it. And then I came here to do a pre-market poll show and I turned off my alert like a dummy. But this is another really good price action example of, you know, Head and Shoulders. They make a new high. So here's your high. It brought you down to the low. They gain it here. They make a new high. And so they come back and they test the low that brought you to the high that we gained. Is a really good example of it. Perfect bounce at that low. So this is like my favorite trading setup out there, both to the upside and to the downside. This occurs on all time frames. This occurs on all the charts. It's a cool little setup to trade. It's my absolute favorite setup. But Tesla, yeah, Tesla definitely catching a nice bounce at that spot. I'm going to do an anchored VWAP from these lows here. Yep, nice anchored VWAP from the low. Right there, finding support on it. Still stuck below the 200-day. It's a tricky one. Tricky one. Don't know how it rolls from here. The safe place to try the trade was kind of down here at that 167 level, in my opinion. You know, everybody's got a different idea, but Texas has spring weather right now. Can we look at ORCC? It's a great dividend player at almost 10% dividend yield. Interesting. Sure. ORCC. So just in price action terms, kind of interesting. What'd you do? You made a new high, right? So here's your previous high. I mean, just across the board, you've got your low, you've got a high, you got a higher low, and a higher high. And what have they done? Now they're coming back into those lows, and they're holding. So that would be kind of where I'd be thinking about. You've got your 200-day moving average here, right? They found resistance, kind of perfect resistance at your 200-day moving average. Let me turn off data flow so we can see this a little bit better. Kind of perfect resistance at this 200-day moving average. So that's kind of interesting to think about. Why do I have this line here? Let me see something. Is ORCC, is this a bank? Yeah, Capital Corporation. Huh. Maybe this is why. All right, hold on. So this is a really new name. A relatively new name. So this is important. One thing that I always do whenever I have a relatively young ticker, something that's something that IPO'd, you know, within the last couple of years, I'm always going to put an anchored VWAP from the IPO. I'm always going to throw one of those on the chart because you just want to know, generally speaking, is price above or below it? Before you do anything, before you make any decisions here, or before I make any decisions, I want to know if price is above or below the IPO anchored VWAP. That's every single buyer of this stock since its inception. They're on average, they're losing on this trade. And you can see how important that has been over the past couple of, I guess the past like almost year. Back in June of last year, you broke below, you came back, you tested, you failed. You broke below it again, you tested, you failed. You broke lower, you tested, you failed. And so this, back in February, this is kind of like a fundamental change in trend a little bit. It still is below it, but it was actually able to close above it and hold before it broke down. And now it's holding a low right here. Right, so this is your previous, this is your December lows, and they came back in. This is what we were just talking about, where that you had a high, you made a new high, and so because you made a new high, you would anticipate that they would come in and hold this low if they retest it, and that's exactly what they did, right? So, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, you're kind of stuck in this range for now. You're gonna be stuck below that anchored VWAP. Because that anchored VWAP will be selling pressure until you can get up and over it and hold over it. If you look back in the past, when you were able to gain it and came back and tested it and held it, they continued to hold it. They tested it here and they held it. They tested it here and held it and managed to get a little bit higher. So that's something that I would keep an eye on. I would also, actually, let me add volume by price, because volume by price will help give you a little bit more of an understanding of things. You know, you could see kind of where all of the volume is. And so this is problematic too. You have the point of control from your IPO. You have your point of control at 1443. That's going to be an even harder level. In theory, that's going to be a harder level to get through, because there's so much price memory there. There's a lot of buyers who are trapped there. The most volume at price occurred at that 1443 level. So maybe what you look for is if this holds, maybe what you look for is ultimately getting above your anchored VWAP and coming in and tested this point of control, and then maybe coming back in and then holding that VWAP. And you could very well get stuck somewhere in here for a little while, and then it's just a matter of whether it breaks higher or it breaks lower. Hard to know, but my kind of guess here is that it might stay in a pretty tight range between $12 and $14. But if that works for you, then maybe that'll be just fine. But that's kind of where my head would be at on that one. Tammy, does that make sense? Any questions for you on that? What's up, John? What's up, Jake? What's up, Michael? Michael Jackson in the house, bro. What's up? Win. We'll take a look at Win real quick. What's going on with Win here? Win. This one's tricky. Let me do this. I'm going to go to all-time highs. Whenever things get tricky, I like to go to highs or lows, depending on kind of where price is, and measure from there. So, I mean, this is relatively constructive, right? You're above the VWAP from the highs, so you're mostly above it. They're trading just below it this week. Looks like they opened at it this week, and they're closing below it, or they might end up closing below it. Let's throw some tools up. Let's see what seasonality looks like. So seasonally, this is something to keep an eye on. Seasonally on Win, this is looking back to 2002, so 20 years of data. Your weakest months of the year on Win are May and June. Now, we're not far out from May and June. April is generally pretty strong. It's your second strongest month of the year. And when I say strong, what I mean is it's generally positive. It's generally a green close. So, relative to where it is within the overall trend, you do have to keep that in mind. I don't want to confuse it with just whatever your definition of strength is. What we're measuring here on seasonality is simply, does it close in the green, or does the monthly candle close green, or does the monthly candle close red? And historically, since 2002, May and June have 30% and 25% green closes. So generally, May and June close red. Generally, April closes green. March is seasonally kind of weaker. 43% of the time it closes green. That's kind of interesting. So you're coming into a little bit more relative strength in April, followed by quite seasonal weakness, May and June. So some wisdom would say, I don't want to say traditional wisdom would, I would say maybe traditional wisdom would suggest that May, June would be, if you were bullish when you'd want to be buying into that seasonal weakness to then sell it into seasonal strength. That would be kind of the thinking there. I'm not going to say that that's the right or the wrong thing to do. Anything can change at any time, but it's something to consider. Yeah, April is above its 100 SMA most often in April. And then kind of gradually decreases. I mean, the thing that's kind of tricky here for me is they held lows, right? You didn't make a new low. So that doesn't necessarily suggest that you should go lower. And they're getting caught up at previous highs, right? I mean, this is kind of it's kind of loose, but it's essentially what they're doing. And it could be here, it could be here, it could be here, it could be here. It's somewhere in here, depending on how you look at things. But you're up and over the VWAP. You're mostly over the VWAP. You're not over it. They've just recently tried to get up and over it. You can see kind of how it's played over the past months. Kind of how the VWAP POC levels have played. You're going to want to get back up and over that as soon as possible in the weeks to come. But you're up and over most of the volume. If you just look at the volume distribution here, you're up and over most of it. So that's good to see. That's what you would want to see if you were more bullish, leaning. Go down to the daily here, well above its 200-day. Holy moly. I mean, pretty decent relative strength here. Hey, so here you go. Here's another really good example of that head and shoulders, right? So this is the opposite direction of that Tesla that we just saw, right? So here's a high. You make a new high, and that's the high of this whole thing. And then we go down and we make a low relative to this low, right? Because this is the low that took us up to this. So where are we getting rejection? Pretty clean, right? So I would be looking for them to get up and over this 116 level for maybe a long opportunity. Or you'd be looking quite lower, maybe. I don't know. It depends, I guess. It depends on like how you decide to play it and if you're already in it or not and what your time frame is. That's the tricky thing about giving feedback on stocks is like the way that I look at things is all relative, right? Relative to how I would want to trade it, how I would want to think about it. But I mean, yeah, relative strength-wise, pretty nice look. Another thought here would be to measure anchored VWAP off of the near-term lows. You can use this as kind of a little North Star. At least that's what I would do. I mean, I've been measuring everything. I've been measuring anchored VWAP off those October lows on pretty much everything, kind of wanting to see just where we are relative to the near-term low Are we above it, below it? Are we near it? Are we finding support at it? Interesting that they have not even come back and really tested it at all. They've just ripped this thing higher. And they're, I mean, just off of the super near term, December lows were right there today. Yeah, interesting. I didn't realize this stock was doing so well. SoFi? Ooh, brother. Or sister. I don't know. I don't know. Stocks like this are I've been generally instructed to stay away from stocks that look like this because they can look like this a long time. But there is, I mean, there is that little pattern that I just called to y'all's attention like 4 times. You do have this, right? You did gain technically. So I would be looking somewhere in here. Maybe they'll find a little support there. I'm not sure. You are under your 200-day moving average. You are at, let me see from these highs. Yeah, so you're right at point of control from the highs. Notice where they stopped multiple times. Anchored VWAP from the high. Ooh, let's do this too. That's not the spot I wanted. I'm just adding auto fibs to see what the retracement of this move is. And when I say what the retracement of this move is, I mean from here, what the fib drew from here to here, from low to high. And they're coming right into that 786. So that's probably an important spot. Looks like 786 and 618 really kind of played. The 50% did too. Honestly, it played right here a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. So I guess if you're bullish, you know, maybe you try being bullish off against this 0.786 fib. Maybe that's a spot. This is a pretty deep pullback. Different traders have different schools of thought. Some traders would say, you know, once you kind of make a new high and you pull back, you wouldn't really want to see it come back all the way to that 786. The further back you retrace a move, then presumably the less chance you have of continuing in the previous trend. So different traders have different perspectives, right? Like some traders would want that 50% retrace to hold, or they'd want that 618. 786, you start getting into like the potential of it not being able to go make a new high, essentially. But why trade SoFi when you could trade something that doesn't look like this? Is a question that I have. Gold? Gold coming into those previous highs, huh? We go from the high. Man, this is a tough one too. You could see on the volume shelf, you could see why price is kind of rejecting here. Coming right into that volume shelf and finding resistance. So this volume shelf was essentially built in through here and here. So you have a lot of volume that you're going to have to eat through. If gold is going to go higher, it's really got to get up and over this. All of these gaps seem tricky to me. Gold has always been perplexing for myself. I've never had any luck trading it, that's for sure. So I tend to stay away from it. But let's go to a bigger time frame and just look at like a monthly spot. I mean, they did make new highs, didn't they? Back in August 2020, they made a new high. They failed a new high though here in 2022. So something to think about. Where's my? There it is. Right, here's a high. 2020 high. They did not make a new high. Here's your low between them. And because they did not make a new high, what did they do? They made a new low relative to this one. They made a new low. And now they're trying to come in and test something in here. You could say it was this like open. And I think just the basic rules of trend would suggest that you got a high, you have a lower high, you have a low, you have a lower low. You would anticipate another lower high. If they can get up and over these two highs here, go make a new high, maybe they run to 200 or something. At some point, it's going to stall and it's going to come back, and you're going to look for a higher low relative to this one. What you might look for is another head and shoulders type of pattern. You might look for them to come and do this, come down in here. It's like 160 level. This could take years. You know, we don't know. But you can see, I don't know if anybody is an ICT, if anybody anybody's familiar with ICT or some of the ICT concepts. It's pretty interesting. Actually, I did a video on it. Let me share it with you. Hold on. Okay, so we would call this, different people have different opinions, don't forget. Different people have different opinions, but this, we would call this a fair value gap. This is what the ICT folks would call a fair value gap. And I did a video on fair value gap. Have a look at it. Here it is. And then also, there are a handful of concepts within this methodology. I did another video with my buddy, Trade for Opportunity. And it's right here. These are both really short videos. They're like 5 to 7 minutes each. But they're interesting. It's interesting conceptually. And it kind of jives with the way that I trade. Because like I say, I'm a price action guy. I really pay attention most to what's going on with price action. And this is a price action. These are price action concepts. The ICT methodology. Order filled. So if you haven't ever heard of it, I do recommend it. Right on, Tammy. Well, I hope that trade works out for you. I really do. I mean, even if it just sits in a range, if you're collecting premium, or you're collecting rather dividends. I have a colleague that's a big into dividend stocks. I wonder if he's familiar. So did you guys know that we have a sale going on right now? Here at TrendSpider, we like to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. 50% off, up to 50% off. 7-day free trial. You can cancel anytime. Save up to 50%, y'all. Pretty sweet deal. I really strongly recommend it. Taking advantage of it. Yeah, 50% off, up to 50% off on the Elite and the Elite Plus. So $390 for the Elite plan for the year, $810 for the Elite Plus for the year. That's the yearly pricing. Essential is $153. That's so cheap. Essential is 25% off. And then on the monthly side, $14.25 for the month on the Essential plan, $39.50 on Elite, $89.50 on Elite Plus. So by prepaying for the year, you are saving yourself 3 months. If you're digging TrendSpider, if you're on a monthly plan right now and you're digging TrendSpider, take advantage of this yearly opportunity because this is a huge savings. You see it's 60, it breaks down to 67.50 a month, where on the monthly side you'd be paying 90. Now, granted, you do have to pay this all up front. This is a one-time cost, and then you're locked in for the year. So canceling is only possible on the monthly plan. If you're curious about the features and the difference between the plans, if you just scroll down, all of the plan stuff is here. All of the differentiators between the plans. So market's open now, huh? Kind of want to go to the queues and see what's up at the queues. Ooh, they ripped it into the open there. They were not able to make a new high, though. What are y'all's thoughts going into today? Pretty insane what's going on over in the bank land. I've got top traded tickers here. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but we've got these pre-built watch lists that are actually really cool. So if you type in top in your watch list, we've got these top mentioned on Wall Street bets. So you have top mentioned, you have top negative mentions. So like when people say bad things about stocks, they're going to be listed in here. Top positive mentions. So if you're looking for like social sentiment index, this is a great way to kind of discern what's going on socially. And then you have top traded by retail investors. So like top traded retail investor names yesterday. It's a lot of times it's the usual suspects. It's the Teslas and the Apples and the Metas and the NVDAs. It's big tech. But sometimes you get kind of strange names. I mean, Charles Schwab in this particular instance is not a strange name to see here. It's a huge bank. It's not a surprise that people are talking about it and trading it. But it's there. So you can very quickly see kind of what all of our friends and comrades, us retail traders, what everybody's kind of doing.
Stop filled.
I kind of want to see the top negative mentions. I assume maybe it's going to be like all banks. Credit Suisse, SIVB, KRE, AMC. Yeah, it's kind of what you would expect, huh? Roku. What's going on with Roku? Because Roku had a bunch of money tied up, didn't they? They had a bunch of money at that Silicon Valley Bank. Wow, Kellogg. Haven't looked at that in a while. Oh, did they really? European Central Bank raised rates? Is that why we're selling off today? I had heard that there was a decision there. It wasn't listed on our economic data calendar thing that I look at. Of course, Credit Suisse looking rough. Yeah, I'm really interested to see what they end up doing here on tech. I have some ideas of what I'm looking for, but you know, who knows if any of that's going to actually play out. Anybody have any questions about TrendSpider? Just kind of jamming around here. I don't have any big agenda today. Anybody curious how to use any of the tools? Do we want to learn how to use anything? Are you having, if you're already a TrendSpider user, are you having any trouble with anything? Are you finding yourself not using a particular tool? Maybe because you're not certain exactly how to use it? Are you getting caught up with anything? Goldman. This looks kind of interesting. Todd, what's up? To set a start date in the scanner. Can you give me a little bit of more information about that? Because there's not a way to set a start date. The scanner's just going to look for tickers meeting a particular set of rules that you predefine. Are you referring to the strategy tester? Ooh, Tammy, you're just learning about anchored VWAPs? All right. That's awesome that you know about it now. In all honesty, I think it's probably one of the most powerful indicators that exists. Every indicator is going to work sometimes, right? Like, you're always going to find instances. You can always point to instances where every indicator works. Every moving average from time to time price is going to bounce off it. Right. But anchored VWAP has to be one of the best as far as not even like how it affects price, but just what it's telling you. It's telling you where your average buyer is from any particular point in time. And you can measure them from anywhere. So the trick with them is deciding where to measure. Okay, Todd. Yeah, let me know. I'm happy to talk through it with you because I have a thought on how we can manage what you're trying to do, but I need to know more about what you're trying to do. Tammy, you can measure anchored VWAPs from anywhere. You can right-click on a candle, create Alpha Trends Anchored VWAP, and you're going to get an anchored VWAP. Pretty interesting look here on Goldman Sachs, right? From these March 2020 lows, so this is COVID low. It says every buyer from those lows, the average price that they paid for this stock, every single buyer. So when price is above it, of course, you're thinking that if price comes back into it, you're going to find some support there. If price is below it, then you're anticipating it acting as resistance. The farther back you go in time, the more powerful, the more data you're including in that measurement, right? So the more buyers you're taking into account. So then in theory, maybe the more powerful that VWAP might be. Again, you can measure from anywhere. You can also, though, you can auto anchor. So if you go into your indicators, click on the three dots next to indicators and type in anchored, you'll see the Alpha Trends Anchored VWAP here at the top. And when you click on it, it adds to your list. And then within this, you see this option to anchor to. And so you have highest volume, highest high, lowest low, blue raindrop, recent gap, day to date, week to date, month to date, quarter to date, year to date. So day to date through year to date, these are all specific periods of time, right? If you pick day to date, that's in essence, that is the same thing as your standard VWAP. It's not, it anchors every single day to the start of the day, just like a VWAP does. If you go week to date, it anchors every Monday. Starts on Monday, continues through the end of the week, Next Monday, we get a new one. And it does it automatically for you. Again for the month, again for the quarter, again for the year. What this allows, let's talk about these two. Highest volume. Highest volume is exactly what it sounds like. It's anchoring to the candle with the highest volume. Highest high anchors to the candle with the highest high. Lowest low anchors to the candle with the lowest low. Blue raindrop anchors to the nearest blue raindrop candle. And recent gap anchors to the nearest gap. Now, how does it determine where the highest volume candle is? How does it determine where the highest high or the lowest low or whatever? It does so via the window. And when we say window, we're talking about a set of candles that surround the particular candle that we are anchoring to that define it as such. So if we're anchoring to a highest high and our window period is 20, then what we're saying is we're anchoring to the candle with the highest high that also has the nearest candle with the highest high that also has 10 candles on either side of it that don't have higher highs. So 10 candles to the left, 10 candles to the right that don't have a higher high than the candle in the middle. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know and we can talk about it. So let's say we want to anchor to the highest high with a 100 candle window. That's saying there's 50 to the left, 50 to the right that don't have a higher high. Say apply. It's automatically going to anchor to the highest high that has 50 candles to the right, 50 candles to the left that don't have a higher high than it. So this is your highest high. What this allows is it allows us, one, we are now, because this is an indicator just like your 200-day moving average or just like your volume down here, or just like whatever indicator you use, if you flip to a new name, you're going to see a highest high anchored VWAP. This is the highest high with a 100 candle window on Tesla, right? Go to Qs and it's going to be there. Go to Meta, it's going to be there. And so on, no matter where you go, it's going to be there. You can also, though, utilize this type of anchored VWAP in the scanner. You can use it in the strategy tester. So like, for example, let's say we want to look for stocks whose price is within range of this particular anchored VWAP, like Facebook would come up here. So we would say price close, we'll say daily close, is within range of indicator, daily, anchored. And then we would come here and say highest high, 100 candle window, say apply. And we could choose the percentage. Maybe we want it within, 0.5%. I'm going to look through the SPY, S&P 500. And we could scan for stocks whose price is within 0.5% of this particular, I need to go to the daily here. This particular anchored VWAP. So here's your highest high anchored VWAP. Here's price within range of it. And we can just go down the list and we'll see a bunch of tickers whose price is within range of that particular anchor VWAP. So the reason why I show you this is because when you anchor a VWAP on your chart manually, like we did here, we right click on a candle, we say create Alpha Trends anchor VWAP here. I can't do anything with this other than just see it on my chart. It doesn't transfer over to the next chart that I look at. It's just on that particular chart because we did it manually. The auto component, the auto anchored component allows us to utilize it elsewhere. So another way you can think about using this, like let's say, for example, you want to strategy test and see when price is above the weekly anchored VWAP. I want to be long. And when price is below the anchored VWAP, the weekly anchored VWAP, I don't want to be in the trade. So we're just going to say condition price daily close is greater than indicator anchored VWAP. And instead of the highest high, we're going to say week to date. And then what we want to do here, because we're testing this, we want this anchored VWAP to re-anchor every week, right? In order for it to re-anchor every week, we need to put it in continuous mode. That hopefully that word kind of makes sense for what it's describing, what it's doing every week. It's re-anchoring, but it's keeping the previous week's anchored VWAP there too. So you're getting an anchored VWAP, you're getting another one, and then it's essentially like a moving average of sorts. So we're going to be long, essentially. We're entering into a trade when your daily close is above the weekly, and we're getting out. Actually, let's make this like hourly close above the weekly. And then we're getting out of the trade when the hourly close is below it. So we'll say price close less than indicator anchored VWAP week to date, and in continuous mode. We choose how far back we want to test. We'll just go 7,000 candles. We're testing this on just some random name. On Estee Lauder here. And we get back results. We can know instantly how does a stock trade over the past X period of time. In this particular case, we're looking back 4 years of data on Estee Lauder. We can know how the stock performs when it's trading above its weekly anchored VWAP. Pretty cool. Does that make sense? Okay, what you mean is there is a parameter for price, says last or N candles ago. If I want to scan for a specific date, I have to change all N candles ago field in my script. Yes, so N candles ago. N candles ago defines when a particular thing happened. So if I want to say, let's say price is above, 10 days ago's close currently, we would say price close, daily price close, or whatever time frame. Actually, we could use like 1 minute is greater than price, daily close, last, and we choose 10 candles ago. We can change this to like 5 minute. So currently on the current candle, the current price is above the close 10 candles ago. And now there's another thing to keep in mind is this current candle toggle. It's pretty important actually. Current candle toggle defines whether you're referring to the current open candle or you're referring to the most recently closed candle. Now, there are some traders out there who want to specifically define that something has absolutely occurred before they're looking for it. What I'm saying here is if we were looking on the daily time frame, or let's say like weekly, and we said we wanted to see like a moving average cross on a weekly time frame. And let's say it's Monday, and let's say it's that the moving averages are crossing right now on Monday. Well, on Friday, they may not be crossing anymore if we're looking for a weekly signal. So because of that, some traders don't care whether it closes the week crossed or just whether it's closing or whether it's crossing right now, right? And that's really who we're speaking to with this current candle toggle. Because we're allowing you to say something is happening right now in the moment, but the candle is still open. And so therefore, in theory, conditions could change, causing the conditions that you're looking for to change. Or, and if that's what we want, if we're specifically looking for something happening in the moment, right now, this second, we don't care if it's not happening in an hour or 5 minutes or whatever, then we want to have current candle toggled on because we want to find it occurring right now in the moment. If we want to know that something has occurred already, let's say, for example, we're looking for a moving average cross on a daily time frame, but essentially we want it to have closed, then we would just keep the current candle toggled off because it's going to look at the most recently closed candle. Current candle toggled on means you're looking at the open candle now. Current candle toggled off means you're looking at the most recently closed candle. So what does this mean relative to our conditions here? If I have current candle toggled on, it's looking at the current 5-minute candle and it's looking at the candle literally 10 days ago from today. If I have current candle toggled off, it's looking at the most recently closed 5-minute candle. And it's looking at It's starting that 10 count from yesterday because yesterday is the most recently closed daily candle. Today's daily candle is not closed yet, and so therefore it's not included in the calculation. Hopefully that makes some sense, Todd. I hope it doesn't make what you're trying to do more difficult. It's meant to allow for precision. But I understand that there is an additional learning curve there. But that's the purpose. So we keep our current candle toggled on. That means we're looking for the current 5-minute candle close is greater than the close of 10 candles ago, the daily close 10 candles ago. Well, you got a couple of names meeting that criteria right now. So this is how I would be thinking about it. Does that make sense, Todd? If you want it to scan yesterday, it just depends. So essentially, if you have the current candle toggled off, you could have this as last if you're looking for yesterday's stuff. Now, keep in mind, I'm talking about the daily time frame here. 5-minute candle is a totally different world. But if you're just using daily, let's just say, whatever, daily close greater than daily close 1 candle ago. So right now, what this is looking for, with the current candle toggled off, it's saying yesterday's close is greater than 2 days ago's close, in essence, because today's daily is open, so it's not included here. If we want to see today's daily is greater than yesterday's, just toggle this on, and then you have today's daily is greater than yesterday's daily. You could also say this. You could also say 1, 2, and have the current candle toggled on, and then you would be saying yesterday's close is greater than the day before's close. Does that make sense? I get what you're saying, Todd. Yeah, that's tricky, man. You know what you could do? You could make a copy of it and reset just so that you only have to do it one time. So like when you save a scanner, let's say yesterday's close. I don't know, today's close. Change this. We say save. And then we search today's close over here because I just saved it, right? What I could do I could make a copy and then I could come in and just change the fields and say save.
Stop field.
Oops. And so that way you have two. Just clone it. Or depending, you might just be able to toggle that current candle toggle. But maybe what I would do just for ease, I would probably just I would clone it So you take the scan that you have. Let's just call it, it's this one, today's close. Go up to the three dots and say clone. Then you, yes, make a feature request. Yeah, do you know how to do that, Todd? Go up to your name, request a feature, and then just fill out this field. Or fill out these fields. Because it would make sense. It'd be cool if there were like a thing where it said, you know, adjust all candles that go fields evenly. I don't even know how you do it. I'm not a developer, so I don't know how you do that, but ooh, cues are looking pretty good here. Interesting. Okay, right on. Good to know, Todd. Glad you did that. Circle back with me. If you're on Twitter, give me a follow on Twitter. And circle back with me and let me know if you hear anything back in a decent period of time. If you don't, I'm happy to reach out to the dev team on your behalf as well. I mean, I can't guarantee that I'll be able to make anything move any faster or make any changes come, but I can certainly be a voice for you on that. Because that would be cool. Well, you guys, I am running out of time here. Does anybody have any last minute questions for me? Things you're curious about, things I can help answer? Any questions about the sale? If not, then I'm going to jump up out of here and get on with the rest of my day. Got work to do.
Order filled.
No questions? All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to run. Again, thank you so much for being here. As always, it's a great pleasure. If you are not already, please give me a follow on Twitter. My handle is @Krutzky Trades. If you are not a TrendSpider user, you're thinking about becoming one, now's the time. Up to 50% off through the end of the weekend for St. Paddy's Day. Take advantage of that. If you do not already follow us here on YouTube, please do. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. It helps me personally very much. So if you're enjoying this sort of hang time, you know, maybe you're just hanging out watching and you don't have any questions, but maybe one day you will. And I'll be here to answer them. I'm usually doing these on Tuesdays and Thursdays during pre-market around 9 a.m. Eastern time. What else? Yeah, that's really the gist of it for me. Please like and subscribe the channel. That allows me to keep doing these. If you don't follow TrendSpider on Twitter, please do that. We're bringing some pretty great content over there as well, trying to get as many smart traders in these Twitter spaces as we can to provide you guys with, good understanding of what's going on out there in the markets at all times. I hope that you have a lovely rest of your week. I hope that you trade them well. Be safe out there. And holler if you need me. My DMs stay open. I'm happy to continue answering questions at any time. If you guys have anything for me, I'm always around. I'm always available to help. So with that, I'm out of here. Have a great day. Trade them well. And I will see you guys real soon, I guess, next Tuesday. All right.